So what do I mean by level swapping? Well, we're actually going to address two issues. One of these came up from a question in the comments about how to move objects between levels. So starting here with just the basic starter map from the starter content, you'll notice the map name up here is minimal default or level name. If you haven't seen my video on the difference between levels, maps, sublevels, and those sorts of things, I recommend you watch that before watching this one. It'll maybe help it make a little more sense. So this is actually kind of an answer to a question that came up from someone watching that video. But anyway, let's look at what we have here. We have the persistent level, which if I hover my mouse says it's the minimal default, which means more or less the open level up here, open level. And let's say I want to separate these chairs into their own level. I could go to the file menu, make a new empty level, but when you have the levels tab open here, which I got to by going to window levels, you can actually create a new level from within this tab. So go to create new, and I'm going to go with empty. I want nothing in it at all, and create. It asks me where I want to save this new level. I'm going to put it with my other ones in the starter content, and I'm going to call this chairs. And you'll see now it created this level, chairs, and put it underneath the persistent level, which means in my terminology it's a sublevel, but technically it is a level no different than this minimal default level, right? If I go into the maps folder, I have starter map, chairs, minimal default, and they're all basically levels. The only thing that makes this chairs level any different than the persistent level is the chairs is not the one that's open. It is not the persistent level. So the chairs level does exist. If I double click to load it, to make it the persistent level, just to prove the point here, you'll see chairs is open. There is nothing in it. This is the name of my level, chairs. It is currently the persistent level. All right, so just to refresh everyone on that, let's go back and open minimal default. So here's my two chairs. Here's my minimal default back open. Everything currently belongs to the persistent level. There's nothing in the chairs level. Also, you'll notice over here in the outliner, if you don't see the levels column, right click next to type and select level. There is this levels column that tells you what level something belongs to. So let's select a chair. And if I want the chair to move into the chairs level, with it selected, I want to right click on this chairs level and then choose move selected actors to level. Once I've done that, you'll see that chair 2 now belongs to the chairs level. I'm going to do that with the other chair. It is selected. I want to right click on the target level where I want it to go. Move selected actors to level. You don't need to do this one at a time. I'm just doing it one at a time to show you the process. And now the chairs level contains the two chairs, and they no longer exist in the persistent level. Let's see what that looks like. If I hide the chairs level, the chairs go away because I'm hiding the chairs level, and the persistent level no longer contains the chairs. I'll turn that back on. So that's how you can swap items from one level to another. Now, another thing to think about is if, for example, I have the persistent level checked and I select the table currently is in the minimal default level. So if I right click on it, move selected actors to level is grayed out because it's already in this exact level, so there's nowhere to move it. But if I select the chairs level, right click, move selected actors to level, now the table is going to jump into that same chairs level, and you'll see that here under the levels tab. Now the second thing we can look at, again, just to make sure everybody's totally clear on this, I'm going to go and create another new level, and I'm going to make another empty level. I'm going to call it table. I'm going to put the table in its own level. And the table's selected. I'm going to select table, right click, move selected actors to level. Now the table is in the table level. Can hide that one, hide that one. If I want, I can even hide the persistent level, and you might wonder, where did the chair and table go because I hid the persistent level? They're still there. It's just when you hide the persistent level, all the lighting goes away with it as well. So don't be scared, it's there. Now another thing to note just to make sure everybody's clear on this, is when you have multiple levels here in the Levels tab, only one of them is considered current. And the current one is the one that's bold. So right now, table is bold. That means it's the current level. So if I grab another object, for example, let's say a bush, and I bring a bush into the world here, what level did it just land in? It landed in the table level because that is the one that is current. So definition current means it's bold, it's active. Technically, they're all kind of active, but this is the one that is the target for anything that involves being a current level. So now if I hide the table level, the table and the bush go away. Let's make the chairs active. If I right click, I can choose make current, or it shows you can also hit enter, or you can just double click. Now if I deselect, you'll see chairs is bold. If I bring in another bush, it belongs to the chairs level. Let's push that back a bit. So now when I hide the chairs level, the bush hides as well because it is a part of that level. Let's say, now you all know how to do this now. If I select this bush and I want it to go with the table, I'm going to right click table, move selected actors to level, and now that second bush is part of the table level, and it hides when I hide the table level. Now while we're talking about the idea of swapping levels, maybe you thought I meant in the sequencer. So let's look at how you would do that in the sequencer. I'm just going to go to the top of the hierarchy here, add a level sequence, and just give it default name. And so here in your sequencer, if you want to hide levels and enable levels, you just need to set that up here in the sequencer. So I'm going to go to the add a track and choose level visibility. The level visibility is really just a toggle, so I want to add a hidden tag here, and you'll see it says hidden. I'm going to drag the table into it, and you see the table goes hidden. But what if I want that to happen at, say, frame 45? You just drag that to frame 45, and prior to that, your level is visible, and then when you hit here, it goes to invisible. And you can do the same thing the opposite way. You can make a visible track, and I can switch that to something coming on. For example, the chairs, maybe I want them to be visible when it hits this trigger, but you might say, wait, the chairs are already visible. So if you want, you can actually turn those off by default, and then when it hits that in the timeline, see what's happening here is when you pass that boundary here, it turns on the visibility of the level. So again, if you thought I was going to talk about how to swap levels while you're in the sequencer in a level sequence, then that is your answer. You add a level visibility track and then turn on and off your level visibility and just drag which level you want active into the little toggle. And most importantly of all, you need to take a break and go watch the latest stop motion video from my son Dexter. Subscribe, like, spread the news about these amazing videos. I'd really appreciate it. Hopefully that answers questions concerning levels and visibility and level swapping. Stay tuned for more educational content.